Hey everyone, this is Stamping Songbird, and I found this long lost footage in my iPad, so I thought let's just do a voiceover for it. I am going to show you some Copic coloring and some changing of the hair on some Pure Innocence stamps. So here goes. I'm using some earth tone colors to color the skin tone of my stamps. I'm going to use some Spectrum Noir alcohol markers to color the shoes and the hair of my stamps. And I'm just showing you here where you could find the colors on the markers of the Copic. So don't know why I did that, but here are the other tools that I'm using. Here's some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, which is Copic friendly or alcohol ink friendly. And then we got some things stuck to the back. I swear by this ink, it is fantastic. I am also going to use some Glossy Accents by Ranger. I am going to use my ATG gun. And here is a stamp set from my favorite things. It's called You're My Person, and it features two little girls in summer or spring outfits, a little dress and a short and t-shirt set. I love those stamp sets, and they often come, well, they always come with a stringy hair, so I like to change their hair and change their skin tone. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm also using some rectangle stitch dies just to cut the cardstock. This is my Tonic Studios by Tim Holtz stamping platform, which I use to stamp my images with. It comes with 2 magnetic discs, and I just added 2 more for good measure. So here I am showing you, or getting it ready. So on this type of stamping platform, if you haven't used one, which I doubt, I think everyone knows about these things, you place your image or your stamp right on the cardstock, and you can move it around and place it in different spots until you have it exactly where you want it. You place it face down. When you have it where you want it, you close the door, and then the door grabs onto your stamp, and it grabs it, and then you're able to add ink to the stamp. That allows you to stamp the image, and if you notice that you didn't get any crisp lines, or you wanted to stamp it a little bit darker, then you can then add more ink and then stamp it again, and it allows you to stamp the image exactly where you had it before. So that's the advantage of having a stamping platform. A lot of people have this one by Tim Holtz or the Misty. I just have this one. It's the only one I have. So I actually did stamp this a couple of times, but I'm only showing you one time. I did edit the video, so you only saw me do it one time. So there's my stamped image, nice and crisp. So next I'm going to start coloring, and when I when I color my images, I just disclaimer, I am not an expert. I just like to color, and I've used many different kinds of alcohol markers. I just happen to have a small collection of Copic markers and Spectrum Noir markers. So I like to color my images in different skin tones. So I'm showing you, I think this is E06, I could be wrong. It's like a pinkish earthy color. I like to use this as my base for shading. So I shade around in different parts, usually the neck, wherever the clothing meets the inside of the arm, the inside of the leg, where the socks are. I create some kneecaps. There are no kneecaps on these images. On the sides of the face, where the 2 faces are touching or next to each other, as my base for shading. And it doesn't matter what color skin tone I am going to color, I always use this color marker as my base. And actually, this is the color that a lot of people use for lipstick or lip color. So this is going to help me with my shading. So a lot of Copic colors, if that's even a term, a title, use 3 or 4 colors to shade. I'm just using 2, and these are the 4 colors that I'm going to be using for the girls. and they're all earth tone colors. I think they're in the 20s families and in the 30s families. I can't really tell you. Like I said, this is a long lost video that I found on my iPad, and I figured, hey, let me just do a voiceover and add it on to my uploaded videos and share with all of you. So I'm taking here the lighter of the two that I chose for the girl on the left, and I am blending that pinkish color that I started with this color. I'm sorry, that was the darker of the two that I chose for this little girl, and now I'm taking the lighter of the two that I chose for this little girl and blending in all three of those. Okay, so now I'm just blending in everything together. Now, so if you notice, you can still see the shading around the edges where I started with that very first marker. You can still see her kneecaps. You can still see the indentation of the inside of her elbow. And that's the great thing about alcohol markers, that everything blends in together and creates like this seamless skin tones. So that dark color that I grabbed, I meant to use that darker one, but I realized it was too dark, so I'm just going to stick to these two. I think this is an E37, so I'm starting with that darker one for the girl on the right. Again, it's blending in with that pinkish color that I started out with, so I'm just going over that and blending them together. Grabbing the lighter one. Now I run into a little bit of trouble here because I didn't realize that this color, my marker was running dry, and I hadn't noticed it, so you'll see in a second that it runs out right there, but not to worry because these are alcohol markers, right? So all I have to do is grab another one and I blend everything that was already on there together. And it's seamless. So it's not like when you use markers as a kid, where if you were working with a yellow marker and then all of a sudden you grabbed the red one and then you grabbed your yellow one again, and all of a sudden your yellow one now turns orange because it touched the red one. That doesn't happen with Copics or with alcohol markers. They don't bleed into each other, they blend together, so that's good. So that helped me out there, which was good. My intention here was to use a pink card base, so I wanted to color one of the girls in pink. So I chose the girl on the right, and I'm using red violet colors. I think this is a RV10 and a RV12. I start out with the lighter shade this time, unlike the skin tones where I started out with the darker into the lighter. Here I'm starting with the lighter color into the darker color. So I start with that RV10 as the base for her dress and her socks. Then I go into the RV12. Now, I'm not an expert on Copics. I just like to color, and I don't have a large collection either. I have a small collection, but I'm able to do enough with the little collection that I have. So here I'm creating some faux pleats into her dress with the RV12. And then I go back to the RV10 and then I just blend it all together. So when you're coloring with alcohol markers, whatever brand it is, they usually come with numbers. And you should go 2 numbers above or below so that you are able to do a good blend. If you go 1 number above or below, you may not notice the difference between the 2 colors. So here I'm looking at some violet colors for the girl on the left. I wanted to do some purples. Purples are pretty tricky when it comes to Copics. The color families are sometimes too far. The shading is too far in between. The tones aren't always blendable, at least in my opinion. All the other colors are fantastic. I don't know, I have issues with the purples, but I think this is fine. So I take the lighter and the purple, do the same thing. Start with the light, then the dark, and then blend it in with the lighter one again. My intention is to give her some darker purple pants, but then you'll see when I grab my supposedly darker purple, you notice that the tone is completely different. See? I don't know if tone is the right word, but they really don't look like they go together. So I decide not to go that route, and I just decide on giving her some jean shorts instead. So I grab a B21, I believe, and I think a B24, because I don't have a B23. A B24, I think. So I start with that light B21 and then use the B24 to give her some shading. And the shading, when you shade, should be like under the shirt, where her hands is, and wherever the other girl's dress may be covering her shorts. So creating a shadow. And then you'll see some light wherever nothing is covering her pants. So now I'm going to use Spectrum Noir markers, some grays, and the numbering system on Spectrum Noir is a lot different from Copic markers, so I just really rely on the color that I see on the cap. I'm using their IG family, which is sort of like a brownish gray family, to color their hair and their shoes. And I take the lighter gray to color the majority of the shoe, and then I take the darker gray to cover the inside of the shoe and the straps. You don't want to do all black or all really dark, because then it just looks like a big blob on their feet, and you don't want to do that. Plus the lighter part will give it that illusion of light hitting it. The darker goes on the inside because that's where there would be shadow created. Here I'm taking some microline markers, which are Copic friendly, and I'm rounding off the hair on the girl on the right, because Pure Innocence Stamps, the hair is always very stringy, so I always change the hair, always, and it makes it easier to color them. The girl on the left, I'm creating a very long ponytail, reminiscent of what my hair used to look like when I was a little girl. My mother was a hairdresser when I was little, and I had very long, thick hair, long hair down to my waist, and I had every hairstyle you could imagine. But one of the ones I always had for school was two long ponytails with lots of rubber bands inside, in between. So that's what I did for her. And to create a brunette, I like to use the brownish grays, never use blacks. So I always use the brownish grays. So if you were using Copics, that would be your warm grays. I start out with the lightest one and then move my way up to the darker ones, using the lightest one to create highlights underneath, and then working my way up to the darker ones, and then blending them all together with a medium tone, the color that's in between the two that I started with. So for the girl on the left, I also want her to be a brunette, but I want her to be a lighter brown, but I want to give her a different kind of base. So here I'm just showing you the difference now with what the hair was like before and what it is now. So with the girl on the left, I'm going to start out with a reddish base, still using earth tone colors. I think I have an E07, maybe an E08, not sure. And it's sort of an orangey brick kind of color. I love this color for redheads, but I'm not making her a redhead, I'm still making her a brunette. Just giving her a red base or red highlights underneath. So I start with that. Then I move into the next color. I think it's an E08 or maybe an E09. So I start to color that, doing some brush strokes and then leaving some spaces in between so you still see that red underneath. And then can't tell which color this is, but this is a much darker brown, and then this one goes like on the her roots. It goes on the edges where the little rubber band ties would be. I go back with the first orangey color to make sure that the red that is showing stands out a little bit more. And I'm basically done with the girls, so I'm just going to adhere this to my card base. I ended up going with a purple card base. It's a plum color from Stamping Up. On a regular 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base. I know what happened there. There we go. Okay, I'm adding some glossy accents to the shoes to mimic patent leather shoes that most girls wore when they were little. At least I did. I wore a lot of black patent leather shoes and white patent leather shoes and red patent leather shoes as a little girl, because my mom often had me in dresses. So I thought that would look cute. I'm adding some enamel accents. I think these are from Ranger also, but by Wendy Vecchi. I think Wendy Vecchi, but they are from Ranger. I added 3 dots. That middle one was giving me a hard time. I had a bubble in it, so it ended up much bigger than the other 2, but that's okay. It came out fine. And then this is some stamping, some Glimmer Mist. I don't remember what brand it is or where I got it from, but it's usually sprayed, so I added some of it off camera to this water pen that I had gotten from Stamping Up many years ago, and it worked just fine so that I could add some glimmer to their clothing and their socks, and it worked well. And that should be it. So here I just wanted to show you guys what you can do with your Copic markers or alcohol markers. You can create different skin tones. You can even change the hair of your stamps and create little characters that look like you. So I use my favorite things, Pure Innocence Stamps. You're my person. I hope you liked it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.